Right, welcome to the big one. This is still news at 10, live from our studios. President Prez Mahama has outlined the highlights of his party's manifesto for the 2016 general elections. The president has been speaking to members of the NDC and the diplomatic community at the banquet hall. We're going to get onto the telephone lines to do some analysis on this pretty shortly. We have Cole Kweja Emisa Abraham, who is a political analyst at the UCC and is Executive Director for the Center for Policy Research Training. Good evening, sir, and thank you for your time. So the president has been speaking and making more promises. He has been in government. He has been in power for 4 years already, having completed the remaining term of his predecessor, Professor John Evans Atta Mills. What have been your expectations of these highlights, and should I say, are you content with how it all went? Hello, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me on your show. Let me say good evening to your viewers. Let me say that personally, I see that with the highlight of the manifesto, it's been a very tedious work for the president this evening. He had to tell us what has been done, and then move on to tell us what is being done.
That's right.
And then also tell us what he will do. That is what will be done when he comes to power again.
But I reckon this is in order, because he cannot just go and present highlights if he does not situate that in the context of what he has already done and what he can possibly achieve within the next 4 years.
Exactly. And when we assess the highlights that he made, we realize that most of them goes beyond 4 years. That is, if he comes to power again, most of them goes beyond 4 years. When you look at the highlights vis-a-vis the 2012 manifesto of the NDC, you realize immediately that some of the things that he said.
So, Mr. Misa, I beg your pardon. You said that some of the promises he made, some go beyond 4 years. Let's stick to a few which you recall, so that we can have a specific discussion and not sway. We don't have a lot of time.
Okay. I am saying that most of them will go beyond 4 years.
For example?
A 4-year term. For example, when you look at his education highlight, when he talks about tertiary education, when he talks about the fact that he is going to build new universities, he is going to also establish college of education to take care of child care education and all that. These are projects that should go beyond 4 years. If the president talks about completing the 200 day school project, this is something that will go beyond 4 years. When we look at what he highlights.
I mean, so are you suggesting that if, for example, he has a plan or policy ambition which go beyond 4 years, he shouldn't make that promise at all? I mean, governance is continuous, so even if he's unable to complete, it might be assumed that the next government which takes over from him might continue.
Not at all. But what I, as a policy analyst, expect is that I expected this policy to be a continuation of the 2012 manifesto.
Okay.
Why? Because if certain things have been started and now we are introduced to different policies, what it means is that we are going to lose a certain level of focus. And when it happens like that, many things cannot be achieved. Let me give you one example. In the 2012 manifesto, it stated in there that government is going to introduce a 1-year term program aimed at childhood care development. Now, the president is saying in his highlight that he is going to establish a college of education that is going to, train teachers in child care development.
Yeah,
and when you put this one, you see a different perspective, kind of.
Right.
So what I expected was that these highlights should be, or this manifesto should be in line with the 2012 manifesto, so that you will see a kind of continuation. But when you introduce in certain policies and they go beyond 4 years, what is going to happen?
Then it becomes problematic. Mr. I'll have you hold. We have a guest in studio so that he will join our discussion. So please hold so that we'll return to you and we'll continue the discussion. So in the studio tonight, I have Bernard Owusu-Mensah, who is from New Era Africa. He's an economic analyst, and he's joining me. Good evening, sir, and thank you for joining us.
Good evening.
So I'm grateful to have you. Now, key on this presentation has been the president's promises on the economy. He said quite a lot on the economy, and before we came here, we spoke about some of them, stabilizing the microeconomic fundamentals and partnering some banks so that he will introduce what he calls rent advance scheme. And then he also promised that we will not return to the IMF. These are three of the few things, or the many things, I beg your pardon, he said. So when you look at the current macroeconomic fundamentals and what he promised, and also the fact that we have an existing arrangement with the IMF, which we are pursuing, the opposition want us to believe that it's not going too well. Government says it is going very well. We've gone to the euro, we've issued a euro bond, which government says was well subscribed at 9.25%. So looking at this picture and looking at these promises, do you think we are within realistic limits to expect that the president will achieve that, or is capable of achieving in 4 years?
Thank you very much, Steve, for having me. If you look at the whole exercise, I think it's a good exercise because it puts the campaign into issue-based rather than the political rhetoric.
Right. So for you, it's a good starting point.
And if you look at some of the promises he made with regards to the economy, I think if it's able to come on board, it will help. But looking at the structure of the economy, until we address the structure of the economy, we are not going to make headways. And
no, let's pause there. It's important. You say that we have to address the structure of the economy. Otherwise, neither NDC nor MPP or whichever political party takes over the helm of affairs of this country will go anywhere.
Sure.
So what is the problem with the structure of this economy?
The very first problem I see is wrong with our economy is we've not fixed the data right. And if you want to develop as a country, as a bank, as an entity, you rely on data, you survive on data.
So we don't have data.
Fix your data, forget about it.
We're joking, right? If you don't fix the data, then everything you promise will be in circles.
Sure.
Right, I'll have you hold. We're still engaging this issue of the NDC's highlights, the highlights of the NDC's 2016 manifestos, and we're ready to show you tidbits of what transpired today at the banquet hall.
This is what the agenda for transformation suggests. This transformation entails a move away from over-reliance on commodity exports towards diversification and value addition. And under education, the number of educational institutions at all levels, that is putting people first, of basic education increased from 45,447 in 2008-2009 academic year to over 57,270 in the 2014-2015 academic year. The central plank of our education policy is technical and vocational education training. And so in the next 4 years, there's going to be a strong emphasis on TVET. We already have a strong emphasis on it. We've invested a lot of money in it. Currently, we are investing more than $100 million in upgrading technical schools at the secondary and tertiary level. The Ministry of Education worked with the Teachers Union to reduce teacher absenteeism from 27% in 2012 to 9.3% in 2015. This had been one major headache for us, teacher absenteeism. You go to many classes, and even though teachers have been assigned, they don't go to class. But working with the teachers' unions, supervision is much better, and so more teachers are going to school and not being absent. In the primary and junior level, we'll complete the process of eliminating the remaining schools under trees. The target is, by 2021, to have eliminated all schools under trees. That is our target. We are reviewing the capitation grants and increasing it by 100% in order to support the free compulsory universal basic education. And we're going to pilot the use of electronic textbooks at the junior high school and secondary level. And so students will receive tablets that have all their core textbooks on the tablet.
Right, the president has said a lot. We still have Mr. Emisa on the telephone lines. He'll join us in the discussion shortly. So, Ms. Emisa, if you're there, you will recap some of the things that the president said, including upgrading training institutions for technical vocational education training, and then moving away from dependency on commodity exports to diversification in other areas. He also talked about review of the capitation to up to 100%, grandiose promise, and he will be kicking schools on the trees. Target years 2021. Like you said, I mean, he's made a promise which go beyond 4 years. Should we take him serious?
Yeah, of course, we can take him serious, but it also depends on the kind of promise that he has made. For instance, when he talks about the economy and he says that we are going to bring down inflation, we are going to bring down stabilize the macro economic health of the country up to about 8%, and also cash deficit. We realize with about 7.8 percent growth from 40.4 was because of election spending. This is an election year. To what extent can we take the presidency, or the president says that now we are going to stabilize the economy by taking our deficit and inflation and all that. Secondly, with the IMF program, with the extended credit facility that we are engaging, the president said that it is based on homegrown policy. That is perfect. Right. But we also see the IMF complaining now about the extent to which we have been following the policy religiously. Why? It is because it is an election year. So to what extent do we get the assurance from the president that yes, it is an election year, but
right, Mr. Abraham, I'm afraid that we have to end our conversation. We don't have a lot of time, but we're extremely grateful that you could make time for us. I know that we'll be continuing this discussion in our subsequent bulletins from tomorrow up to the time the real actual launch takes place. So thanks very much, Mr. Kweja Emisa Abraham is Executive Director for the Center for Policy Research Training. I still have with me here Bernard Owusu. I'll wrap up with you, Bernard. I know we didn't have a lot of time to say quite a number of things, but the president made so many promises, and you just mentioned that we will be joking if we don't fix the problem of data. So that the president is promising that he will start some kind of registration system. I don't have the specific words that he used, but to the point that by the close of the 4-year tenure, every Ghanaian will have a national ID. This is not new, but do you think this is a bold step to fixing a problem which has been hanging over our necks for years?
I think it's doable, and I think the way to fixing this is very easy. Once we commit ourselves to it, we will be able to fix it. Because I'm looking at these promises, juxtaposing it to the resources we have.
And the election year, of course. Yes. So within the budget spending.
Sure. So if you don't have the data to improve upon your tax mobilization, control for rent control, rent tax, property tax, make sure that the district assemblies mobilize the resources. That
if you were contesting for elections, you will make that #1 priority. Tell me.
Seriously.
Okay, so that's very fair. Thanks very much, Bernard Olsen. We're grateful for your time. If he was running for president, I would vote for him. He has data to back everything he's saying. And my name is Stephen Enti. This is still News at 10.